What up? Marsh Pod, we're recording this late Sunday. Chiefs headed to the Super Bowl. We talked a little bit about it on Instagram. Don't need to expand on that. We'll record a little bit later on, talk about Lamar Jackson. But first, a huge day in SimWorld Prep. A lot of movement across the board. You got, Jimmy King headed back to Bay Area. You had a bunch of newcomers coming in, but none bigger than Rip Akere. And I think Rip is probably going to have the largest impact of anyone on that changed teams or joined teams on Sunday, the 28th. He might be the most hyped unsigned prospect that we've had in SimWorld Prep. It's not the only guy. This does not include those that have been, rostered or during the summer, and I think you might be able to make the argument Reza Red was up there as well, but he's going to have the largest impact because Lone Star Basketball needs him so badly, and Arthur Lattimore needs him so badly. Lattimore's been phenomenal. 22 points, 6 boards. He's shooting 58%. He's low volume, but 40% from deep, 4 of 10. He has been exactly what many people said he couldn't be. They said, it's huge volume, huge usage last season for Cascadia. Those numbers don't mean anything. They mean something. The problem is for Lone Star, they don't have anything else. Ninny Gibson, I don't know what Monstars came down and stole his juice, but since midseason last year, Ninny Gibson has been a shell of himself. He came out and was a bona fide number 2. Phenomenal scorer, was hitting with efficiency, and next to Jace Miguez, those two were one of the best, if not the best combinations in SimWorld Prep. Since then, this season is averaging 7 points, 16 minutes per game. He's shooting 36% from the floor and 17% from deep. He's completely fallen off from the pull-up, midi-god type of game that he had one season ago. Meanwhile, Lone Star's roster, while talented, is full of guys that you kind of wonder about. They're not elite. Trey Burt has a lot of nice attributes. He's a good shooter. He's hitting on 56% of his three-pointers, but he's not a high-volume create-off-the-bounce guy. Mardon is one of the best defenders in the league. Great point-of-attack defender. I think he's got a really high upside as an offensive piece, but it's just kind of gone unexplored at this point. Ronnie Shanahan's their number 2, and while he's an efficient playmaker, he falls into that game manager type of role. He's not a go out and get the bucket. That's what they need next to Arthur Lattimore. And if you look around SimWorld Prep and you look around the types of players, the types of elite teams that are out there, there's a reason Lone Star's 5-7 and loses of their last 3. Not because Arthur Lattimore is not toe-to-toe with some of these other pieces around the league, but he's more in the same line of the situation that Jeff Fat Towns finds himself in Rainy Trace. You have an elite top-end talent with next to no supporting cast. And I think in this case, Rip Akere coming in as this downhill electric athlete, is he going to be a 18-point-per-game scorer? I don't know about that right off the bat, but is he going to be able to step in and give you 12 to 15? I think so. And if you look at, it's great to finally have the ending of this conversation around Jimmy King and the drama that engulfed him in Best Coast, him and Coach Ambar and the Rainy Trays, finally getting a spot to land with Bay Area again is great. But Jimmy King isn't moving the needle, although Bay Area certainly needs that needle moved a little bit outside of Trey Hyman. But you're getting one of, in Lone Star, you're getting one of, if not the best athletes to walk into a team. And with him and Arthur Lattimore, and I think in this case, it's a perfect compliment for Ronnie Shanahan to be able to navigate with 2 intensely vertical physical threats, plus the defense of Mardon, Trey Bird as well on the perimeter to be able to navigate this group, second on the team in assists. I think it makes a ton of sense, and it's going to be a move that, we're not battling for playoff spots. We're all going to make it into the race to 1, and that's great and dandy. But you need better seeding. And right now, if you look across the league, there are so many teams that are stuck within that 1 to 2 games of 500. I mean, look at the Southern region. Everyone except Gulf Coast, 7 teams are within 2 games of 500 in either direction. In the Founders region, you've got 2 teams that are within 2 games. In the Neo region, you've got 4 teams that are within 2 games. In fact, there's 4 teams all within 1 game of 500. And then over in the Intercontinental, you've got 3 teams within 2 games. So there's this huge group of teams right now in that we could be 500 if we get hot for a week or 2. Or we could drop to 500 if we get cold for a week or 2. Lone Star is on the bottom end of that. And while it's not the end of the world because they're still going to make the playoff, the race to 1, you want to get further up so you can go up against Gotham 5, the North, Latin America, Middle East, those teams that have been atrocious since the start of the season. Sure, Gotham 5 just beat Oceania. There's an opportunity that happens. We saw it 2 seasons ago when New York gets bounced early on and Houston and Seattle made deep runs. But you want to set yourself up for that matchup. And I think Ribicari gives them the opportunity to, and he'll be the biggest mover of the dial, of the needle, of all the players that joined or moved teams here on this suddenly, mid-season, almost trade deadline-like day in SimWorld Prep. We're recording this, it's halftime of the Chiefs, it's halftime of the Lions and Niners game. Lions are looking phenomenal, but the Chiefs have marched on, and I said it on the YouTube short that we've reached the point where you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. It's absolutely true, but we've also reached the point where I think every single critic now of Lamar Jackson has been proven right in terms of he's a phenomenal regular season quarterback, and if he were in Miami, San Francisco, LA, some warm weather climate, we would start to have the argument that we have with quarterbacks like Tua, like Justin Herbert, is that they're warm weather quarterbacks. But Lamar Jackson plays in Maryland. But the fact of the matter is just when the games get impactful, when the moment gets big, Lamar Jackson hasn't shown up. And that's identical to the issues that we've run into with Tua, where we say, look, it's too cold for him. It's not about the weather. It's about the talent, and it's about the opponent. And in the case of Lamar Jackson, as the game got big, he did not answer. Sure, you can look at Zay Flowers, and Zay Flowers did not have a great possession in which he ended with the dive at the goal line where he fumbles. You can talk about that. You can talk about the penalty there after the big catch, which you saw the penalty coming. I don't think it was as, atrocious as the referees made it out to be by actually, whistling him for the personal foul. But Lamar Jackson made bad decisions time and time again, the worst of which was down 10, that throw into the end zone for Likely, into triple coverage. And look, the reason that throw was intercepted was because he threw it underneath. I mean, it's not as if he was aiming for it, but if he goes over the top, there's a chance, but that window is so small that it's just not worth throwing it to. And if you make that is one of the best passes and receptions that we're going to see all season. But the fact is that you never felt the confidence. And that Baltimore Ravens defense, which was getting gashed in the first half, really showed up. I mean, you look at the fourth quarter, and they had plenty of times in that game where it was like, look, this is probably over, especially after that interception, especially after that fumble. I mean, you look at it and you say they were still within 10 points time and time again to be able to go get a score to make it a one-possession game. They were right there on multiple occasions, and Lamar Jackson just didn't get it done, and it was like that from the jump. He did not look comfortable. This is a massive credit to the Chiefs' defense. That is the best defense that they've had next to and around Patrick Mahomes. There's no question about that. That's why they're as far as they went, and that's what kept them afloat. But the Baltimore Ravens defense, which was getting just run roughshod through in the first half, really showed up in the second, but they couldn't get it done because Lamar Jackson just stopped looking like an MVP. He looked like a regular season quarterback, which is what everyone talked about, which was everyone complained about, which is what every critic had the belief of, is that when the going gets tough, Lamar Jackson doesn't get it done. He didn't get it done. And if you put him in any other environment, any other literal geographical location further south of Baltimore. He's a warm weather quarterback, just like Tua. Now he's better than Tua. He's a lot better than Tua. I'm not saying that they're on the same level, but this is why when he went out, people didn't want to give him any money, right? This is why he was available at the end of the first round coming out of Louisville. Yeah, he puts up massive stat lines. He is maybe the most exciting quarterback to watch behind only Patrick Mahomes. But he doesn't win football games. That is what we judge everybody on, fair or unfair. But if you can't get it done, and this was bar none the best situation that Lamar Jackson has ever had, and maybe ever will have. Now, who knows what the future holds, right? But this was everything lined up perfectly. You had a bad Kansas City Chiefs team that you're going up against. You got phenomenal first matchup against a young rookie quarterback, young head coach in Houston in the first round. You get home field advantage for the AFC Championship game for the first time in decades. They bring out all the stars. They bring out Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, every notable name. I think Jonathan Ogden was one of the honorary captains. They brought out everything of note for that game, and he still didn't get it done. The Baltimore Ravens still didn't get it done. That's it, man. There's not much more that's better aligned for a guy like Lamar Jackson facing all of the controversy that he has to go out and silence it, and he didn't. And until further notice, I'm just not going to believe in him as a quarterback come the postseason.